Hey guys, got a vibration in your front end? Stick around, I'm going to show you how to find out exactly what's causing that problem. I get asked quite often about vibrations in the front end of the vehicle. There's a lot of different ways that people go about checking that out. I got asked recently specifically about a four-wheel drive, so I'm going to use this one as an example. But before I get started, I just want to give you a few pointers on checking the vibrations. One of the first things you want to do is determine if you can feel it in the steering wheel or in the seat of your pants. The next thing you do, if you decide, okay, you're feeling it in the front end, which would be your steering wheel, then you can jack it up and rotate your front tires to your back and vice versa. Test drive it, see if it followed the wheels and tires. If it did, then the odds are that you've either lost a wheel weight, it throws the balance off, or potentially you busted a belt in the tire itself. In that case, you just replace the tire and then the problem's solved. If it gets a little more complicated after that, the next thing you want to do is take a look at your tires. You want to look at the tire specifically for any kind of wear. If it's wearing on the edge, on the outer edge, the inside, if it's got little humps going on it, that'll give you an indication if something's worn in your suspension or your steering components. Another thing to pay attention to, when you're sitting still, like in a parking lot with the engine running or turning into a parking spot, if you hear a squelching noise when you're turning the wheel, that's a good indication that your ball joints are wearing. Easy enough to repair, but it takes a little time. Next thing you want to do is you want to jack the vehicle up, and I'll show you that here in a minute. And you want to grab the tire and move it from top to bottom like that, and then check it again from side to side. And I'll show you how to do that now. So I went ahead and jacked it up underneath the front A-arm. You want to do that to where you're comfortable with it. Put your jack stand under there if you'd like. Next thing you want to do, up and down. Don't see any movement whatsoever. Everything's nice and tight. Now if you watch, you can see quite a bit of movement. And you know the other tire's still on the ground. You don't want to do it with both tires in the air at the same time. So you can see we've got quite a bit of play there. Hit a bump in the road, whatever, it's going to start vibrating. Looking at our tires, you don't see any wear. There's no grooves, no bumps. I recently replaced the shocks on it, so I know those are in good shape where you'd see some cupping. So the next thing we need to do is find out what's loose. So let's go underneath and take a look. Generally, the side by side is going to be something wore out in your steering system. We'll check your outer tie rods. You can see I'm still wiggling it. I don't see any movement or play whatsoever, so that's pretty good shape. Now we're going to check the inner. And there's quite a bit of play right there. You'll notice this part moving, and this part's not moving at all. So that's going to be what's worn out. You wouldn't think it would cause that big of an issue, but generally between 25-45 miles an hour, you're going to start feeling that. So we'll go ahead and jack up the other side, check that side, see if it's doing the same thing. And everything else in here looks pretty good. You've got your sway bar links. The bushings are still in pretty good shape. We checked top to bottom. Didn't notice any play in our upper and lower ball joints. That's your lower ball joint, your upper. Generally, when those go bad, you'll hear a screeching noise, like I said, when you're turning the steering wheel, sitting still. We got the other side jacked up. Gonna do the same thing. Check top to bottom. Nice and tight. Check side to side. Nice and tight, no play. So what we've come to conclude is that it needs one inner tie rod replaced. However, I figure if one component's worn out, it's only a matter of time for the rest. And when you get done with it, if you're not spot on, you got to get it aligned anyway. So it's not a bad idea to go ahead and just replace both inner and outer tie rods at the same time on both sides. Get it aligned, and then it's done. You don't have to worry about it again. Because you figure 130 some thousand miles, it's probably showing some wear anyway. But now we've determined what our problem is. Now we've got to make the repairs. And I'll go ahead and get the parts ordered. In my next video, I'll show you how to replace the parts.